Hey, what's good, everybody? J Ping here checking in. Respect my region. Hello, hello. Good morning, good morning, good morning. J Ping here checking in. RespectMyRegion.com. Here today on episode 2 of the Morning Joint. Today we have special guest, co-founder, uh, original co-owner, old head Mitch, aka Mitch Pfeifer. Mitch, I appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you.
What up? What up? What up?
Today we have you replacing Hannah, so I really appreciate you filling in the gaps here. You and I are going to be talking through some new news, some breaking news, some trending news in the world of music, in the world of cannabis, in the world of psychedelics, and then we're also going to be talking through the emerging markets. So for you specifically, Mitch, I know we've got a list of content that we're going to be discussing in terms of the emerging markets. You're going to be talking about some psychedelics, some cannabis. There's some new Wonder Bread news going on. It's really exciting. But until then, I'm going to kick you off and I'm going to go through mine as quick as I can and we're going to get rocking. Are you ready?
Let's go. Let's go.
Happy Monday morning joint. Let's go. All right, Mitch, I'll see you in a bit. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Joint. RespectMyRegion.com. Your boy J Ping checking in. First things first, I'm going to talk through some breaking news, some really exciting stuff. We're going to start with the world of cannabis today. The coolest story in all of cannabis is that there is a U.S. Senate candidate, Gary Chambers. Okay. He just smoked cannabis on camera for his ad, to run for his position. So how cool is it that we've entered an age where you can legitimately smoke a blunt, smoke a wood, smoke a cigar, smoke weed at the end of the day on camera while running for politician. And instead of it being looked at like, oh my gosh, what a terrible individual, what a drug addict, all the different horrific stigma. We have the cannabis industry fully backing this guy. He's relatable. We finally have someone relatable doing the cannabis stuff. Big shout out to Gary Chambers. Make sure you guys go check that out. Google it. We wrote about it on Respect My Region. Tap in. Okay. Up next, we have some quick updates on there's just an interesting study that just recently came out. It says young people who use marijuana have better orgasms and sexual functionality, study says. I know for me, when I smoke sativas, Dutch Treat, Jack Herrera, the hazes, I mix a little bit of gelato, I mix a little bit of that OG Kush in there. I know for a fact the mood gets set. I know for a fact that the ladies and the other homies that I know that smoke and do sexual activities, I know it improves it. And the rare couple times where cannabis doesn't improve that situation, it's because the factors. You're already tired. You don't feel good. You're not in the mood. But oftentimes that green crack, that Dutch Treat, that haze can really set the mood right. Let me tell you. All right. So up next, we've got another one. This one I'm actually really excited about. I went to the Cookies Compound Genetic drop at Cookies Maywood recently. Compound Genetics created the strains like the Jealousy and a bunch of other really fire. And what's exciting about that is Cookies is bringing Khalifa Kush out here. It's launching in a few weeks in LA. It's soon, maybe even next week or whatever it is. And so it's a very exciting time to be a part of the Khalifa Kush, the Cookies family. Cresco Labs has partnered with Wiz. And so they are bringing Wiz to California. Again, very exciting time to be alive, to have so much good rapper weed, so much good Kush coming in hot this year. So I'm excited personally about that. You guys can definitely expect a review there. Now let's go ahead and skip over. We've got some quick music news, okay, for you guys. So first things first, if you guys are, if you're familiar with the Good Old Smokers Club tour, the second edition is coming around for SoCal. We've got Kid Cudi, A$AP Rocky, Wiz, and a bunch of other dope artists. So you guys are definitely going to want to stay tuned. Tap in for the full lineup and everything like that. You guys can visit respectmyregion.com for some information there. And then there's also, we've got some really good rappers from Maine that are worth checking out this year. I'm going to run through that list here in a moment. Once I get the blunt started, I'm going to run through that. There's a bunch of music industry job listings. So Respect My Region and I, Hannah, we're working on content to help you guys learn how to navigate the music industry, how to succeed better as an artist. And that's where we've launched. We did some content last year that educated people about, how to write press releases, how to reach out to journalists, what the appropriate methods are for some of these things. And now it's time for us to start getting you guys connected to people in the actual industry, right? What better way for you to make moves than to actually meet and network with real people? And if you are already doing stuff in your area where you live, if you're already managing artists, if you're already booking shows, if you're already doing stuff and you're like, man, I'm young or I'm old, whatever it is, and I just want to change my career, this is why we started this listicle. This is why we started this series. Is for you guys to get a better idea of how to participate in the industry, how to discover real people that work for real labels, that work for real agencies, real marketing groups and teams that actually have clients that are record labels and big, not just small record labels. Like, and there's nothing wrong with small record labels, but like big ones, Warner, Universal, the Sony groups, things like that. Atlantic, you guys, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of information. The music industry loves to keep most of it hidden. They like to keep their margins intact. The less you know, the more they can charge. And this is a great opportunity for you guys. Just visit respectmyregion.com. We've got the listicle right there. 8 music industry jobs, Q1 2022, internships all the way to executive positions. So if you're top of the top, then you're definitely going to want to check that out. Coming out of some, this is some really interesting news. I'm also particularly excited about it. Hip Hop DX, Jay-Z, Meek Mill, Killer Mike, and a number of other artists are all pushing to ban rap lyrics being used in court against artists. And I would say most recently in the mainstream eye, we saw Meek Mill go to court, spend some time, and there was a judge there, and forgive me for being mildly incorrect on this subject, but there was just a lot of like institutionalized racism involved in that court, trying to make an example out of Meek Mill, specifically out there on the East Coast, because of his lifestyle and what he was saying in music, among other things, right? And what people need to understand is that if there can be books that are fiction and nonfiction, then there's got to be the comprehensive understanding that what comes out of these artists' mouth is an infusion of fiction and nonfiction. It's an infusion of real things that happen, as well as stories and other stuff pulling from different examples. And oftentimes, too, they're just saying stuff. Not all rappers are being 100% truthful with the things that they say. And so I think it's important to at least highlight that, at least on my tip, I 100% support, all these artists trying not to get the lyrics to be used in court. It's a culture. It's a thing, right? That this is a form of the communication out there for these artists. And so I fully support that. Big shout out to Meek. Big shout out to all the artists that are involved with that. Thank you guys for pushing the industry forward. Now I am going to read through this quick artist list for y'all. 6 rappers from Maine. Okay. Worth checking out. All right. Oh man, we've got some really good stuff, man, on our site today. 8 Michigan dispensaries with high quality weed. Let's go. All right. So where's the main? Actually, I'm going to start with this one. 8 music industry jobs real quick. Now I am just going to read through the jobs briefly. Let me spark this J. This blunt real quick. 8 music industry jobs. TikTok Music Product Council, located in Los Angeles. TikTok is looking to add a music product council to their legal team. Live Nation Regional Marketing Director for Seattle. Let's go. If you're into events, chances are you've been to a Live Nation event, and the leading live entertainment company is now hiring a regional marketing director for Seattle. Let's go. Let's go. Bachelor's degrees preferred, but not required. Shout out. Warner Music Group / Atlantic Records, assistant for publicity in New York City. One of the 3 major record labels globally. This is for Atlantic Records, assistant in the publicity department. Warner Music Group. Vitamin T, writer, music industry, Pacific time zone, remote. Vitamin T is a talent agency built on relationships, powered by tech, and passionate about connecting the right people and organizations to transform work for the better, help everyone grow and succeed. They're hiring a staff writer who is passionate about music. Spotify, client partner. Globally, Spotify is a leading music streaming platform with over 172 million paid subscribers and 381 million active users. They're currently looking for a client partner based out of Seattle, Washington. Let's go. This position is part of the sales team and entails building relationships and clients and partners. Spotify internships, LA, New York City, Tokyo, Singapore, London, Gothenburg, and Stockholm. Spotify is also currently accepting internship applications for their summer until February 3rd. Get on it. You guys have literally 10 days. Get on it. You must be a college student to apply. 23 different areas: graphic design, artist and label partnerships, marketing, data analysis, and more. Get involved if you are in college and trying to get in the industry. Work for Spotify. Stop playing with yourself. Undercurrent, record label project manager. While working for a huge record label like Warner or UMG might be your dream, there are also tons of other smaller and independent record labels out there. Undercurrent is one of the best. Currently hiring, based out of Venice, California. It's fully remote. It's an exciting time to be alive, man. Make sure you guys tap in. And then we've got AEG Golden Voice production coordinator, and that is the last one for the 8 positions. There's a lot of good stuff, man. There's a lot of good job opportunities out there. I really, really encourage you guys to consider applying, to consider checking it out. You guys can, of course, always send me a DM. I'm happy to share more information. Without further ado, 6 rappers worth listening to in 2022. Up first, Shane Rice, representing let's see, representing Maine. Now we're specific in Maine that I recognize. Been performing live since he was 15. He's got a hit regional radio hit called Wave. So definitely worth checking him out. Let me spark this again. Killer J. Heavier Tone. Just recently released a project, a little track called GTA. Sounds like some Detroit drill with, Playboy Cardi, a little bit of woo. Man, he's a vibe. I don't know if that's all accurate, but at least when I listened to it, I thought it was accurate. Up next, we got Miles Bulin. Very upbeat and positive soul. Talks to his fans on Instagram, and it shows. One of the most unique styles. He's been in 40 states and parts of Europe. He's definitely got that colored hair, colorful, sad boy vibe, but maybe he's happy and energetic. He got an animated video called Swallowing Bruises. We got another artist called P. Will. Maine doesn't have thousands and thousands of artists, right, that are just like popping and popping and popping. There's just not that many people there. So P. Will has been doing his thing for, a notable amount of time, coming from Philadelphia and then moving to Maine in 2004, 23-year-old University of Tampa graduate pursuing his music. Got his own production label, New World Hustle, and been doing a lot of great work. Recently collaborated with Troy Ave, so that's super dope. Up next, we got B. Aul. Lyricism and melody coming together as one. Inspired by the likes of J. Cole and Art Gold Link, Anderson .Paak. This guy must be a diverse artist, man. Singing, rapping, the right kinds of beats. I mean, when you really make a quality song, all the actual parts truly come together. And so I can't stress it enough. Check out the artists. The last but not least on our list, Cam Groves, the final hip-hop artist that we're covering on our main rappers list. Close associate of Spose. They released a joint album in 2019 featuring titled We Smoked It All 4. Hasn't been anything new from Cam Groves recently, but he's been active. There's plenty of material across his catalog. Definitely worth checking out. Make sure you guys search 6 rappers from Maine worth checking out. There's some really good stuff, man. There's a lot of good stuff in the works. Additionally, if you guys slide over to Respect My Region, we also have a lot of really great content on there. We recently just featured Big Chief extracts. Again, there's a whole list of dispensaries in Michigan. We did a feature on the Dutch Berry strain, 50-fold, great brand to cover. We recently covered the Pluto strain by Gas House. A lot of really good stuff. And now, without further ado, we're going to be transitioning over to Mitch. Mitch is going to be talking about some news in the emerging markets. Wherever cannabis and psychedelics are recently getting legalized, currently getting legalized, anything like that. We're covering stuff in that area. Like we want to be educated. We want to be making sure you guys get access to the news, all the good stuff. And so, like I said, without further ado, my man, the one and only, the legend, the founder, co-founder, current co-owner, Old Head Mitch in the building. Mitch, you ready? You got your list?
Yeah, we're going through cannabis and then in psychedelics, correct?
Whatever order you want, my man.
All right. Yes, sir.
All right, I'm gonna turn myself off. I'll see you in a bit.
Okay. Yeah, I know if you. All right. How's everybody doing out there today? Like Joey said, we're gonna go over some emerging markets. I am filling in for Hannah, so I'm just getting my bearings. So bear with me a little bit. We'll go over a little bit of news in the cannabis sector across the country, along with the psychedelic market. So in cannabis, we have South Carolina is soon going to vote to legalize medical marijuana. Looking at that bill, I'm not super familiar. I have not read this super in depth, so please excuse me for that. But it's the South Carolina Compassionate Care Act. It's high on the agenda of something that they're looking to vote for in legislation. I'm really curious to see what it's going to look like. Some of these medical markets get voted in with some crazy stipulations and strings attached to it. We see that in a couple different cases. If you look like Pennsylvania, it's very restrictive. If you even look at Texas, which I know is a very extreme example, but their market is very, very restrictive. And I feel like once you pass legislation, there's two different ways a state can take it. Sometimes that legislation blazes the path for change to come pretty aggressively, quickly, swiftly, that's much needed, or kind of adjust with just how the market's rolled out. And some of these times you see medical markets slap restrictions and put a state in a box. Some of these states, medical market is a surefire hindrance of getting to adult use or recreational, whereas some states, it's really the pathway. So it'll be curious to see what's going to happen down there in South Carolina. Obviously, you're dealing with the South. You're flirting in that Bible Belt territory. So there is some stipulations that come with that. But there is a lot of progressive movement going in South Carolina, and a lot of people have been moving there. New ideas, young people. That's usually what it takes to shake things up. Towards the adult use side, the Mississippi House approves medical marijuana bill with amendments, and some of those amendments they're not super crazy. They're reducing. Almost dropped the camera. They're reducing the amount of cannabis a patient can have by half an ounce. And so it'll go from 3.5 ounces to 3 ounces. And so this is a medical marijuana program for those of us that are in adult use without a medical card. It's usually an ounce, tends to be around the full capacity. I believe in Oregon, I can't remember if it's 1.5 pounds or half pound. You can have quite a bit in Oregon in some of these if you are a medical patient. I think California as well. I think you can have up to 8 ounces, or maybe it's 10 or 12. Forgive me for not having all of these numbers tight. But the next amendment is removing the Mississippi Department of Agriculture from having any obligations under the act of placing these obligations with the Mississippi Department of Health. These obligations include licensing, inspection, and oversight of cannabis cultivation facilities, cannabis processing facilities, cannabis transportation entities, and cannabis disposal entities. So that's just removing the Department of Ag from being involved in the system. Likely, like many other states, it's going to roll out with its own governing body that looks at cannabis. It might be cannabis and alcohol, as a lot of states have kind of lumped those in together, as it is, a regulatory body that has had pre-existing experience with oversight of a 21 plus good. And then the other amendment, the third and final amendment, is that they're expanding zones which cultivators and processors can operate to include commercial zones. I'm not too familiar with the Mississippi laws, but if you look at cultivation facilities in legal states, commercial zones, especially near airports and industrial districts, are where a lot of indoor cultivation goes. Obviously, outdoor cultivation is usually reserved, on the outskirts in the country, away from civilization, if you will, a little bit. But indoor cultivation, it's much more expensive to build a facility in the middle of nowhere, and there's hard to find facilities in the middle of nowhere that have good water and power access. I guess if it's a large facility, it's going to have power, but water access and some of the things needed for cannabis. So in these industrial areas, cannabis, I'm not an expert on this per se, but I'd say that cannabis has definitely helped keep a lot of commercial real estate in business on the West Coast. You look at a lot of these industrial parks that sit vacant, and then if they allow cannabis, you will see them get filled up with cannabis. So shout out Mississippi for making some of these much needed changes to just allow more access and growth in this space. So the next cannabis news is Wonder Brett launched their retail and cultivation in Michigan. And so they teamed up, the legendary West Coast brand teamed up with Cloud Cannabis Co. for the first of its strategic partnership, cultivation partnership. This is something that was announced in September 2021, but it's coming to life right now. Wonder Bread is one of the most popular brands in California. They had that partnership with the Chomp brand with rapper Russ. Justin Bieber's been spotted shopping at their store. They're definitely one of those brands that has made a great name in this space. They've scored really well on some of our strain reviews. I know I've had their Beyond Blueberry, which is crazy terps on that. And I feel like from their packaging to the strains they produce, terpenes and flavor profile are something that they definitely push very, very hard on. And so it's cool to see them getting out in Michigan. That's one of the states that I don't think anyone from our core team has been to. It was on our list of states to visit on this last North American Weed Tour, and sadly, we did not get to Michigan. That will be changing in 2022. So I'm not too familiar with the product out there, but I know there's a lot of indoor cultivation because it's a more northern state with not the best weather when it comes to winter. So indoor cultivation seems to be more of what you see out there, which usually is a little bit more quality product from a personal consumer side. So I'm not sure. I've heard that there's quite a bit of good weed in Michigan as opposed to some of these other states. But getting a brand like Wonder Bread out there, that's definitely going to help elevate the quality of cannabis and the branding at market. And it's going to be cool to see California expand over there and not like a California hype celebrity brand, like just a real brand that I think is respected from the culture. Moving on to psychedelics. So, research shows that psychedelic mushrooms can help treat depression. A lot of people have been aware of this. It's been talked about in studies, many studies for a long time, that psychedelics can have tremendous effects on PTSD, substance abuse and addiction, depression, anxiety. But there's more research coming out showing that psychedelics can really help depression. And legalization is on the horizon. It's a hot topic for Washington State right now, where I currently reside and Respect My Region was formed at. We saw like Portland and Oregon decriminalize a lot of these things. We're seeing things trickle down the West Coast and in other states. Washington is definitely one of those next dominoes to fall. So that's definitely exciting news. I am personally just really excited for, as things like that become decriminalized or legal, that allows, universities like University of Washington or some of these other universities in the state of Washington to get their hands on running, state-funded and backed trials and studies on this, which I think ultimately is going to give us I think it's going to lay out what a lot of us already know, but scientifically prove how powerful these things are and really open up some alternative means to treating such serious conditions. If you look at the world we're in right now, especially coming off of COVID, but even without that, depression and anxiety are just running rampant from youth to the older generations. It is some serious things that I think there's a lot of other things that are the byproduct of depression. Depression, you don't really see people like you don't see a negative thing or a negative headline happen and you're like, oh, depression, but can likely be, and a lot of these things are the direct byproduct of some of these serious these things that are going on. People are just affected, whether it's chemical imbalances, trauma. There's a lot of different things going on in life. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of negativity in the world, and it wears on people in different ways. And, pharmaceutical companies are something that myself and many don't trust fully. I'm not saying I don't trust the medical research or market to any extent, but, I think it's natural to proceed with caution with some of these things and think that just a pill or something cooked up can help solve some natural things that are going on in the human brain. And when we look at some of these studies of what this plant that grows from the earth and what it does for many people, it's pretty amazing, especially if you look at just people on psychedelics and the way their brain interacts and further connects. And then when you read about habits and addiction, and then you look at some of these psychographs or these graphs of how the brain connects, to me, it looks like, wow, this is very promising. I'm not going to say anything one way or the other because I'm not a doctor, but I'm very excited to see more of these studies come out and people get some of the treatment that a more natural treatment. And some people really want this treatment. So U.S. news, on to the next topic. U.S. news money, 7 psychedelic stocks to watch. So along with psychedelics becoming legalized, there's obviously the commercialization and people looking to capitalize on this. Some of these are just people trying to do good, and some of these people that are and I'm not saying these people, but some of the companies that are coming into this space are going to be with the real purpose and mission to do good. Some of these people are just going to be, looking to profit off of this. But when you look at any sector of anything involved in the United States or capitalism, you got to make a profit when business. So one of these 7 companies, Mind Medicine Inc., ticker MNMD. It's a biotechnology company running clinical trials on multiple drug candidates. 2 of his trials are focused on LSD, and the third is focused on, ibogaine, naturally occurring substance found in a West African shrub. So they're in a phase 2 of a LSD trial, and then they're LSD and microdosing and opioid withdrawal projects both recently entered a phase 2 testing. And so that's going to be super, super cool to watch. I mean, the opioid epidemic is just continuing to rise. And so we look at alternative things to, obviously psychedelics aren't necessarily a pain management or pain mitigation, treatment, but obviously a lot of the drugs that cause a lot of issues with addiction and substance abuse. And that is one of the main things that psychedelics is offering in these studies, is help with that. So if we can help combat that, we're combating one of the largest epidemics in the United States. Compass, the next company up, Compass Pathways PLC, ticker number CMPS. And they are testing synthetic psychedelic or therapy for, COMP360 for treatment-resistant depression and post-traumatic stress. One of the comments in here just said head injury, CTE. I'm not sure where psychedelics are at that. I'm sure that's going to be something that they look at. But so this company, CMPS, is getting into some phase 3 trials and yielding positive results. But looking at that PTSD, they're doing actual treatment. They're running trials for treatment on treatment-resistant depression. I'm not too familiar with that medical term, but I'm assuming that is pretty self-explanatory. It is people that are having severe depression that are just not responding to pre-existing treatments and pharmaceuticals on the market. And they're looking at this mushroom treatments for post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. The next company up is Field Trip Health Ltd, ticker number FTRP. They are looking at another company looking at synthetic mushroom molecule, drug candidate FT104. They believe it has a similar potency to mushrooms, but generates a shorter period of psychoactivity, potentially making it, more preferable for treating parents. So that's obviously, when we're talking about psychedelics, there is the euphoric, the psychedelic, psychoactivity aspect of these, people tripping out, where people have used these recreationally for those reasons. A lot of people that are using health don't want those. Similarly, what we've seen in CBD with cannabis, a lot of people want the benefits of the cannabis plant without the psychoactive getting high. So they opt for CBD or very low THC, or finding those right treatments where they can still get the benefits of the plant without those effects that many recreational consumers or users are looking for. But maybe if you're not into tripping out and you see the power of mushrooms and you want to try those, and especially on a daily basis, you're not trying to be tripping out, wigging out for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. So these guys are working on some drugs that are going to give you some of the benefits, but not not the psychoactive. And it also said they're looking at stuff to not have the shorter period. You're not going to be tripping out in a trip for hours and hours. So they say the next company is Cybin Inc., ticker number CYBN. It's a Canadian pharmaceutical company developing psychedelic medicines for the treatment of illnesses such as depression, anxiety, and addiction. Let's see where they're at. They're beginning some phase 2 clinical trials in treating major depressive disorder. They're reporting positive preclinical findings. So that's another one. Oh, and then they're also looking at treating alcohol use disorder and major depressive disorder. So some of those things I was talking about earlier, these guys are looking at helping crack the code on some of these things. The next company is Numinous, I want to say that right, Wellness Inc., ticker number NUMIF. They became the first public company in 2020, June of 2020, they became the first public company in Canada to be granted a cultivation license to produce and extract mushrooms. Numinous says import and export distribution licenses for DMT, mushrooms, ecstasy, and other psychedelic drugs. In April, they launched a new phase 1 clinical trial in partnership with KGK Science Inc. to test its own naturally derived mushroom formulation on patients. The trial could provide useful information, the potential benefits of natural mushrooms compared to synthetic versions. So just in reading the last few trials, they're looking at creating synthetics, whereas this company right here is working on natural, which sounds good to me. The next company is Atai Life Sciences NV, ticker number ATAI. Atai Life Sciences developing multiple drugs based on ibogaine, ketamine, and other psychedelic substances. They went public in June. Let's see, they have 9 drug candidate programs, 4 already in clinical testing, and its leading drug candidate, RL-007, oh, James Bond, is in phase 2 testing for treatment of schizophrenia. Well, that's the first one I've heard going for schizophrenia, but obviously one of those, conditions out there that there's not a lot of assistance or help for, so it's cool seeing that. The next company, Celos Therapeutics, Inc., ticker number SEAL, SEEL. They're a biopharmaceutical company with 4 clinical stage pipeline programs. Celos is in phase 2 testing of drug candidate SLS-005 for treatment of both, I don't even know how to say that, I don't know that term, lateral sclerosis, which is, Lou Gehrig's disease, and spinobil, I don't even know. Dang, man, they're hitting me with some medical terms, and you guys are learning. I can't read that well. But the SLS-005 is a type of sugar consisting of 2 molecules of glucose. The company's SLS-002, it has ketamine, and then they have a sublingual ketamine, and then they have some other drugs in the psychedelic pipeline. They're looking to treat acute suicidal ideation and behavior in patients with major depressive disorder. It's also treating SLS-003 to treat complex regional pain syndrome. Wow. So, and then they have working their preclinical gene therapy programs to target Parkinson's disease. So these guys are really looking to solve some very serious things that there's not much assistance or help out there for. So to recap, these 7 stocks: Mind Medicine Inc., ticker number MNMD, Compass Pathways PLC, ticker number CMPS, Field Trip Health Limited, ticker number FTRP, Cybin Inc., ticker number CYBN, Numinous Wellness Inc., ticker number NUMIF, Atai Life Sciences NV, ticker number ATAI, Celos Therapeutics Inc., ticker number SEEL. So those are 7 psychedelic stocks to watch. And then to round out our news on the emerging market report is we have a bill decriminalizing psychedelic mushrooms under review in Virginia. So we're looking at more states coming online with the psychedelic market. Clearly looking at some of these companies, we're looking at Parkinson's, major depressive. What was it? I don't know what it was. Severe. There we call it severe depression. You look at some companies trying to target suicidal ideation. Anxiety, PTSD. You have some companies some pharmaceutical companies out there really looking to solve some of these hard issues that people in the world have been facing, and mental disorders. So, this is definitely an exciting market from a financial aspect. These companies definitely have a lot of upside when we look at potential more natural and alternative medicine. But you also just look at what these companies can do potentially for humans. It's amazing, and we're looking out for that. So we're super excited. So thank you guys for staying tuned on the emerging market report today. Let's see where Joey's at.
Woo, everybody. That was another episode of The Morning Joint presented by Respect My Region. Mitch, I was worried. I appreciate you coming on, talking through, as always, a really decent speaker and presenter. Thank you for going through those topics and through those stories. Man, I hope everybody enjoyed that. Episode 2 featuring Old Head Mitch, aka Mitch Pfeifer, Joey J. Ping, your boy Joey Brabo. Come on, man. Respect my region. Please, everybody, this is available. It is currently streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. It will soon be on LinkedIn and a number of other places. So again, like, follow, subscribe. Please engage. Please share this episode if you enjoyed it. Leave some feedback below. If you guys have any stories, be sure to email that to info@respectmyregion.com. Send it directly to me and Mitch, and we will definitely consider that with our team. Big shout out to Hannah for curating the stories today and co-producing the episode. We'll see you next week. Love you guys. Peace.